Hello everyone, AmyR here from Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to another one of my videos for the Picket Fence Studios YouTube channel. They just had their wonderful December Paws and Prints release, which is very much animal themed, super cute. I will have a link to the release, as always, in the description box below the video for you to check out. And then I made a couple of flat inlay shaker cards using some of the elements from this release. We did some simple ink blending, splatter, watercolor, and then yeah, flat inlay shaker. So as always, I will have links to all the things I used also in the description box below the video. And then let's just get right into making the cards. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is make my backgrounds. And for that, I'm using some A2 white cardstock, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I've stuck it to one of the Picket Fence paper inking palettes to hold the cardstock and the stencil in place. And this is the Meow. Yeah, it's just called Meow stencil set. There's 2 stencils. You can use them together or separately. And I started with the fish bones stencil, and I don't know why. I get a kick out of like fishbone images for cat theme cards. I don't know what it is. I think it's funny. Anyway, I am going with 3 different shades of Distress inks. And I used Kitsch Flamingo, was it Spice Marmalade, and Scattered Straw. I ended up showing it like on the screen later. And my Picket Fence life-changing blender brushes. So I blended first, just the 3 colors, and then I'm very lightly using the same colors and going over it just to add some color to that white cardstock so it's not stark white. I'm not really aiming for a smooth blend, which is funny because when I say that, it looks fine. But Distress inks don't just naturally blend like a lot of our stamping inks, you know, the Altenew, the Simon Positively Saturated, Concord 9th, etc., etc. Distress inks are meant more for techniques, you know, the water reactiveness and all the fun things, but you obviously can blend with them. It just sometimes takes a little more work. But when I do light blends like this and I'm not really trying too hard, everything was good. So I just did that light blend though. You know, again, wasn't worried about getting anything smooth because we're going to add the next stencil. And then, of course, we're going to add splatter. So I lined up the second stencil and it's got all these dots, which at first I was like, oh, those are cute. And then I realized, oh, those are the like the little eyeballs for the fish skeletons. Again, you guys, just welcome to the chaos and my silly humor. So for this one, I used Black Soot Distress ink. I was gonna use the Picket Fence, like, is it Blackboard? I think it's called. The Blackboard Paper Glaze Velvet. Oh, love that stuff. But I'm planning on doing like die cutting and inlay and all these things. So I just went with the Black Soot Distress ink. Just keeping everything like super flat. It'll make sense in a minute. So after I'd done that, before I did anything else, I just took my card base while I was at it. And my card base is a top folding A2 white note card. So 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I stuck my card base to the paper inking palette. And I have a piece of Post-it tape right at the score line so I don't get any ink past that. And then I'm using those 3 same inks over this little fish skeleton stencil. And usually when I do this and I show in my videos, I just kind of use whatever's left on the brush, whatever's left on the stencil, like keep it really light. There wasn't much left on the stencil or the brushes because, again, I used a pretty light hand and these are light colors. So I just used the same ink colors and blended these so that the inside's going to have like the color and the pattern, you know, super cute. And then off camera, I did the exact same thing, but with 3 other ink colors. Because the first card is like, you know, pink, orange, yellow. And because, you know, I've got a bit of OCD and I love rainbow everything. The other one I did green, blue, purple. So for that one, I used Twisted Citron, Tumbled Glass, and then Shaded Lilac. And I did, like I said, the same thing. I blended over the stencil with the 3 shades, lightly blended the background, and then used the Black Soot over the other stencil to give it the detail and the little paw prints. Super cute. So after I'd done that, I'm going to add a bit of splatter, more so for texture. Not my usual, you know, because usually I go in hard and 3 different types of splatter, etc. I'm keeping this little lighter handed. So I'm starting with the paper splatter in opaque white. This is actually my very first time using this. And so far I like it. Just the thing to remember always, make sure you shake it up really well because like the pigments in this will settle, but it's nice. And right now it looks like nothing, but it does add some texture. Again, I was going in with a light hand. This isn't about the splatter, but I do like adding it to backgrounds like this. It just gives it, pattern, a little bit of texture. It's just fun. So I added the opaque white first, and then I went in with opaque black. And this I definitely did lighter hand. I'm using my little fan brush, just lightly tapping it because I want a bit of splatter, but I don't want like big splotches of the opaque black because, So added that, let those dry on the backgrounds, and I've just got that nice little speckly bits that I personally I love it. So once those were done, I need to do my main images, and this is the new Happy Paws stamp set from Picket Fence, illustrated by Yuzu, Nook, and it's so cute. And I took just the two little cat images from the set. There's also like a little like pet shop and, all the things that you can add. But I took just the cats and then the little plant pots, and I'm stamping those onto distress watercolor paper. I'm stamping onto the smooth side of it with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And I'm just using my little acrylic blocks. I've been just freewheeling it lately, not using my stamp positioner as much, but it's also especially when I want to stamp like multiples of small images. The acrylic blocks are just, for me, the way to go. So I stamped the images with that. I did not heat emboss them. Usually that's what I do, is I like to heat emboss my images. It gives the raised edge. It's like bumper pads when I'm doing watercolor. But with these ones, one, they're smaller, and my watercoloring is going to be quite simple. So after I stamp them, I'm going to use all the same colors of distress inks plus a couple neutrals. Neutrals being hickory smoke, the black soot, and then I'll bring in a little bit of ground espresso a little later on. For the colors, it's all those same colors that I used for the ink blending to keep everything, coordinated. So did I say I used sponge sugar earlier? It was Kitsch Flamingo. I don't even remember what I said, but that's what I used. Just a nice light pink, really. So, Kitsch Flamingo, Scattered Straw, Dried Marigold, the Twisted Citron, Tumbled Glass, Shaded Lilac, and then I also brought in a tiny bit of Mowed Lawn, because Mowed Lawn and Twisted Citron go together so nicely. And then for the watercoloring, just my little tiny Tim Holtz watercolor brush that it's actually the same one I've had. I think I've been using this one for like a decade. The ends of the bristles are getting a little raggedy, but it's just my little comfort water brush. And then off to the side, off camera, I keep a cloth, because if you've ever worked with a water brush, they're finicky. This one is still my favorite and I've tried a million brands over the years. But still, water brushes are finicky. If you want the most control, a paintbrush and a cup of water is like the most control of water. But this is just convenient, and I don't know. Like I said, it's my little comfort brush. I like this little water brush. So that's what I use. I just swirl the brush on my little palette where I've smushed the inks, and I paint with them. That's another reason why I specifically chose the distress inks to do the blending, because then I already had them out, on my work surface. And watercoloring with distress inks it's a good time. Things just work. So for my little kitty cats, I kept them pretty neutral. I just used like the hickory smoke and the black soot. Also because since my backgrounds are a little more colorful, I wanted the cats to be a little neutral. So they're little, gray striped little tabby cats. And I just applied the hickory smoke and then would paint on it a little bit of the black soot, and then use like the Kitsch Flamingo for their ears, and then the other colors for their little collars. And then I love this little tiny plant pot that's, knocked over, because of course it would be. If you're at all familiar with cats, that's like their main pastime is knocking things over. So I used all the other colors to paint in all these little accessory images, these little plants, the little planters, the little flowers. Very simple. Just getting the color on. Small images sometimes can almost be too intimidating, but at the same time, it's actually kind of nice, because it's like, oh, they color up very quickly, and small areas you don't notice. Things do not need to be perfect. So I painted in all my little images, and then I let those, once they were dry, which didn't take very long, because again, small images, not adding a ton of water, nothing like that. I used the coordinating wafer dies to die cut all these. And I also heat embossed one of the sentiments from the stamp set onto black cardstock and die cut that as well. Now this is where I messed up, but I end up making it work. A good double-sided adhesive sheet is what you need here. That's what I thought I was using, and my brain was just somewhere else. I should have known the minute I pulled this off, but I'm putting adhesive on the back of my card front. But like I said, you need a double-sided adhesive sheet. What I stuck down isn't that. I thought that's what this was, because I just grabbed it from a drawer, and like I said, I wasn't thinking. So I applied some adhesive. I'm going to make this work, but this is, just bear with me here. And then I'm using the Thanks Stacked Word Die. This is big because this panel is like A2 sized. And then this is where. So I ran the die cut through, and I'm supposed to be able to peel off the backing. And this is when I discovered, oh dear, this is not what I thought it was. This backing doesn't peel off. So I had to fix this because I did not want to redo this background. I was committed at this point. So I pulled out my little Xyron Creative Station light. I've had this thing for, again, like a decade. I forget how long, it's old. So if you've got one, great, because mine had adhesive in it. But double-sided adhesive sheets, they're very common. Most of us have them. I need to find mine or order more. I don't know what happened. They grew legs and walked off. So that's what I would do, is apply a double-sided adhesive to the back of the panel and then die cut. So I have to re-die cut because I want it to cut through that adhesive that's on the back now. So I lined up the die. It just kind of fit into place. And then I used some low-tack tape just to make sure. And then I ran it through my die cut machine. It was still a little finicky because I had that extra layer of whatever it was I adhered to the back of it. So I'm cutting through multiple layers here. Like I said, I made things more difficult than they needed to be. This all would have been done already if I had done just double-sided adhesive. Then, this would be a non-issue. But, sometimes you're just finding ways to work. Score tape would work for this too, especially if you have that big roll, which of course I have. The huge roll of it that's like 4 inches wide, that would work too. Anyway, because I made my life difficult, I had to use a craft knife to just kind of cut through that final layer on the back. I just wanted to expose the adhesive on the sentiment and nothing else for now. So to do that, I just used a craft knife to kind of cut through areas because, again, it didn't fully die cut through because I had many layers going on and just, a mess and making my life more difficult. But I expose the adhesive on the back of just the sentiment so that I can line this up onto my card front and then press the sentiment into it. And now it is lined up where it needs to be. And then the rest of this piece, I don't want to lose this. I want to keep it along with the 2 interior pieces. A wafer die like this is pretty simple to do something like this sort of little technique with. If it was really finicky, really delicate, or like a word that a lot of scrolly bits, you know what I mean? I wouldn't attempt it. You could do it. I'm sure it would look amazing. I don't have that kind of patience. I was at my patience limit with this, and it was my own fault. So anyway, I pressed that sentiment in. And then to make this a flat shaker, I've got just a piece of acetate. I'll link to some clear bags. Same thing. I save the packaging from my stamp sets, etc. Same sort of stuff. You just need a piece of acetate the same size as your card front. And then I'm going to create a pocket. So for this, I'm using some strong, and this you definitely want to make sure you're using a strong double-sided adhesive. So this is Altenews super sticky tape. Again, score tape will work. Red line tape is another good one. You want something strong, especially if you're going to use glitter like I'm going to use, or if the person you're sending the card to you're not the biggest fan of, then maybe don't make it as strong, and then the glitter's going to go everywhere. You have options, but if you want this contained, strong adhesive. So I put it all around the perimeter, as you could see on screen. I remove all the backing on the 3 sides. So the 2 sides and the bottom, not the top, because we want to make a pocket. And then I press the acetate into this, and I press it very, very well. I'm able to like readjust it, and then I press it in and make sure it is sealed completely. There's no openings, no gaps. Like I had applied the adhesive, so there is no gaps. So now I have a pocket. And in this, I'm going to put glitter, specifically Rock Candy Distress Glitter. One, it's subtle, and two, Rock Candy Distress Glitter. I don't know what black magic they do to this stuff. It's not staticky. Because again, if you're familiar with loose glitter and how it is staticky, this stuff isn't. I don't know what they do to it. They do something. Anyway, I scooped a bit of that in there. Then I removed the backing from that top layer of the adhesive, peeled it out, pressed it. So now that glitter is contained and it's not going anywhere. And I then removed the backing on the actual card front. This is why I wanted it on the back of it to adhere this to the top of this acetate. Because again, you need really strong adhesive when you're dealing with acetate. You can use liquid adhesive. Not my favorite. And it's also just, it's finicky. It can ooze out if you've used too much. It's not a good time. I personally don't like, I will do everything to avoid using liquid adhesive. I prefer like good, strong, double-sided, sticky adhesive when dealing with acetate, plastic, packaging, that kind of stuff. So I stuck that on. I inlaid the two interior pieces along the top as well. And that's it. That's the shaker. That it really is that simple. I just made it more difficult because I used the wrong adhesive initially. So yeah, if you skip that step and use a proper double-sided adhesive, it's great. It works great. You can experiment as well, adding maybe some like flat confetti, that sort of a thing. You want to use something flat like glitter or like the flat confettis, that sort of stuff with something like this, because you don't have a lot of leeway because it is so flat. Like that pocket I created is very, very flat. So this is a nice way to use up some glitter. And yeah, it just creates this fun little inlay sentiment that's got the little glittery shaky bits that are very much contained. And then I adhered all my little characters and the sentiments with just thin foam squares, just to give them, again, just a smidge of dimension, but still keeping these cards very, very flat. And yet they do have that shaky bit. It's subtle. I'm not even sure if you can hear it on the microphone. It's very subtle, but it's fun. So that was it. That was my flat inlay shaker cards. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said in the beginning, links to everything I used are in the description box below the video. Let me know if you want to try making a card like this, or if you have, that'd be really fun. And I will see you all and talk to you all in the next video. Bye.